Hello and welcome to Paradox, Untold Stories from Athletic Directors with Dr. Danielle Lapointe and Dr. Dustin Smith. We have some crazy and unique stories for you, which are made possible by our sponsor, Wall of Fame. At the Wall of Fame, our mission is to bring your school's legacy to life. We transform school tributes to make it easier than ever to celebrate your whole community, showcasing your school's diverse history, proudest moments, and top role models. We understand that the true value of our Wall of Fame is in your content. Whether you are starting a new tribute or adding to an existing one, we give you all the resources you need to build an interactive experience and take your content to the next level. Speaking of next level, let's check in to see what Danielle and Dustin have for us today.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We have a big episode today for a couple of reasons. First, before we get jumped right into our guest and introducing him, I would like to congratulate my co-host, Dr. Dustin Smith, on a recent change in his life. So, Dustin, you want to elaborate on that further?
Man, that can go a lot of ways, but I'll go with I'm assuming you mean my school change and
Yeah.
my position change, not just um, in the state of Arkansas. I was in Arkansas for a long time, 16 years, and then have recently, as of a week and a half ago, been the executive director of athletics at Broken Arrow Public Schools, which is the largest school in Oklahoma. And somehow they trust me to do this. So I've moved to Oklahoma, which is where I'm from originally. I'm a native of Oklahoma, so this is back home, quote unquote, for me. Um, my family's not up here yet. They're still in Arkansas trying to finish selling that house and closing on that and moving up here. But I am presently, and as of 2 weeks ago, become the executive director of athletics at Broken Arrow Public Schools in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
Well, that is awesome. Congratulations. I'm sad that my favorite Arkansas AD, has now left Arkansas, and now you're gonna have to work really hard to get that title because color is my favorite
Yeah, the
Oklahoma
bar's
AD.
high in Oklahoma. I get. I
So you're
haven't
gonna have to
reached that
work
yet.
on that.
I'm used to that. I'm good.
So congratulations. I know that is a really big change for you and your family. I wish you guys all the success there as well, and kind of why we need to take a little hiatus. But we are excited to be back, and we have a big episode. We have Loren Sandhop with us from Washington State today, and I don't have enough good things to say about him. But Loren, first I want to give you the opportunity to say hi real quick.
Hi, you guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I was fortunate enough to meet Loren at the Washington State Conference, and it was great to get to hang out with him and chat with him and see him in his element. But he has a long list. He wears many hats. I want to make sure I get them all. So, Loren, if I don't, definitely correct me. But you're the district AD for Moses Lake School District. You're the Big Nine League secretary and treasurer. You're the commissioner for slow pitch softball, girls bowling, and baseball. You are the WIAA representative assembly on that assembly. You are on the WIA District 6 executive board member, and you are a WASA executive board member, president elect, and District 6 mentor. Did I get all that?
You got it.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do with your free time when you're not working?
And sometimes, and he's an AD at some point.
Yeah. Just trying to handle a 4A size high school here in Washington State. But
For, for,
outside of work,
for those of you who don't know, 4A is what? Like, what's that range
so
in
4A would
Washington?
be our largest classification, and we're in the top five. So big schools, like we're almost 2,500 kids.
So
And so
I'm going to just point out something that I noticed. If you're not watching on YouTube, you need to jump over here, but there's some stripes behind you. Do you fill in as a referee as well, or is that just in case the referee is not available?
in case they don't show up, or
You wear
no,
that hat too?
we do have unified sports, and so sometimes we put those on and call the game for what if people don't understand. In unified sports, it's a combination of our special education students and our gen ed students. They play together in games, and we have teams, and we travel just like we would in other interscholastic sports, but it makes, for them, it is an exciting time for them to be able to play a real game, be introduced, have the band there, cheerleaders, the whole 9 yards. They play just like a normal team. So it's pretty cool. So sometimes my assistant and I, or we convince a kid to maybe do it, put on the stripes, and let's go referee a unified game. It's pretty fun.
We do it in Arkansas, and they actually have a state championship. Or when I was in Arkansas, they did it, and they had a state basketball championship. They give them a trophy just like they do Class 2A, 3A, 4A, whatever. It's really an exciting event. It's an exciting thing for both the special education kids and our kids, just to be able to participate, see it from a different perspective. And see those kids celebrate is so much fun when they make a basket or when they pass to a team or whatever it may be. They just celebrate life, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you won't leave without a smile or a tear in your eye. That's right. What I say.
Yeah, it covers both emotional gamuts. You can go to both ends of that extreme there, which is a really cool thing. So I applaud you for having your referee's shirt there, just in case you have to jump in and do that.
Kind of my shrine back here with helmets and balls, and so you got to have a referee deal.
Right.
It's part of what we do. And
I want you to put it on when a parent and a coach come into your office to sit down, and then you just hold on a second and you put on your referee shirt.
I know. and hold a fork in your hand, and you can stick it in them and say, "You're done."
Right.
I was just testing you.
So, Loren, we can kid about that, but let's talk about life outside of being the AD or the referee or all the other accolades that you have. What do you enjoy doing? What's the resume not going to tell us about who Loren Sandhop is?
Oh, well, I'm a husband and a father. I've got a couple of daughters in college at Whitworth University in Spokane. But I love to do activities outside like golf, camping, mowing my lawn, no cell phone on, earplugs in, listening to music, doing other outdoor things like kayaking or going on walks. So yeah, that's kind of my jam.
So you have things that you do outside of this. I mean, I don't know how you find time to do those things with all the other accolades that you have and responsibilities that you currently have. But what I like to ask is, we talked about you're from Washington State. Let's paint on a map where exactly you are for those that are geographically challenged. And I won't mention any names, but one may be on this podcast, and her initials are Danielle Lapointe. So if you can point that out, like where you're located in Washington, so that our listeners can know.
She flew in here and she had no idea where she was.
That is
I'm not surprised at all.
Semi-true.
Maybe it was dark. I don't know, but so Washington State, it's right next to Alaska. Canada's really not there. It's positioned in the far left corner. Almost you can see Russia. No, just seriously, it is not all rainforest. Everybody thinks of Seattle and visiting, and it's raining 100 days a year. Moses Lake's right dead set in the middle of almost a rectangular state. So halfway between Seattle and Spokane. And Moses Lake's right in the middle. Eastern Washington is really dry. I mean, we get 12 inches of rain a year compared to over 100 inches of rain in Seattle. So it's super dry. It's a desert. And if you fly in, you're going to fly over the top of big mountains that people in the eastern part of the U.S. have never seen. Things like Mount Rainier, 14,000 feet, Mount St. Helens.
I saw it. It was awesome. Right
big,
from
huge
the plane.
Mountains that cause all that rain coming off the Pacific to dump in Western Washington. And when it gets over to Eastern Washington, we're dry. So super arid. Yeah, we don't have a lot of rainouts here, but we do get some snow. It's colder in Eastern Washington, so we have the 4 seasons, and yeah, it's pretty it's an enjoyable place for outdoor enthusiasts. I'm not much of a hunter or fisher guy. I just don't have the time to do that sort of thing. But those seasons, those happen when we're super busy in the fall. And but I live on a lake, so we've got a boat and we've got a trailer and go camping, and yeah, those are great fun things to do.
So we just got to establish this, because cold to me is a lot different than cold to Danielle. So define cold in Eastern Washington.
Well, there'll be some times in January and February where we're sub-zero. We could hang out at zero for a week or two and have a couple feet of snow on the ground. Especially as you get closer to Spokane. Spokane gets more snow because those clouds kind of get some energy, and they drop some more snow on Spokane compared to Central Washington, where we'll get occasional snow. But when the wind's blowing, you had Cole Canyer on earlier. I played baseball at Central Washington University in Ellensburg, and man, I'm telling you what, when that wind howls and it's 30 degrees out, that wind chill makes it feel like it's zero. So if we get down to the single digits and we have some wind chill, now it's cold.
But I will just tell you, Danielle doesn't function below about 70. She thinks below 70 is cold. So,
Lord, you know that's not true, because it was below 70 when I was in Washington.
And it was nice, wasn't it?
That's not what I said, but I was functioning. But
now it's 85 and clear blue skies, and
yeah,
picture perfect out.
I actually was fortunate enough to fly to Washington, into Pasco from California, so I got those mountains that you were talking about, and it was awesome. And they were so close to the plane too, like way closer than you're used to. So that was a really cool thing to see. But yeah, but you're right. When I landed, I was not expecting it to be as like, the landscape was a little different than I anticipated, but it was dry, and it wasn't awful with how cold it was. I did have a hoodie on though.
But the Columbia is a big, huge river too. That river, it's not the Mississippi, but it's not dirty either. It's pretty clean and cold. I was just on it this weekend, and I think the temperature of the water was about 48 when I jumped in. It was pretty cold.
You went in?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to add polar bear to your list. Is that the club?
So,
the polar bear jumping club?
You got to cool off when it's 90 degrees and the sun's. We don't have humidity. Like, you don't understand. We're talking maybe 10 to 15% humidity and 90 degrees, but you're sweating still. So you jump in the water.
It's refreshing, Danielle. It's refreshing.
Yep. For some.
So we've clearly established Danielle's not very tough.
Oh my God, we are coming back strong and deep. Okay, all right, here we go.
So let's talk about some things that Danielle really does enjoy, and that's the stories, and that's the point of having this podcast, where we get to tell stories and just have some fun. Kind of I can't believe this just happened. I can't believe that you can't make this stuff up. We talked about before we got on the broadcast. So let's talk stories. And I know you've got one that Danielle is really tickled about and she thinks is really great. And then you've got one that we have zero idea about, which is the one I'm intrigued about. So let's tell stories, and let's talk about, first of all, I don't know that we won't call you the bomb, but you have a bomb story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, in Eastern Washington, our large communities where our big schools have substantial space between them, right? So we're a traveling league, is what I like to say. Central Eastern Washington, we're in the Big Nine. Officially, there's 7 schools right now. We were as big as 15 schools at one time, and so
but it was always called the Big Nine.
Always called the Big Nine because the original 9 schools were in those large communities. Okay, so the Tri-Cities, where you were at, had 3 real main schools with Kennewick, Pasco, and Richland. And then they added they added another school at Kennewick, Kamiakin, and that made it the 9th school. And it was 9 schools from about 1965 all the way to, I want to say it was 1990 something, 98. And then there was a couple other schools that either one of those large communities added another school and made another big school, but we're really traveling between Wenatchee and Moses Lake and Yakima and the Tri-Cities, and then all the way to Walla Walla, the town they love so much they named it twice. So Walla Walla is big. You maybe heard that on Bugs Bunny before, right?
Good.
I don't know. Daffy Duck used to love to say Walla Walla, Washington. Anyway, Walla Walla is where our
Danielle has no clue what you're talking about, Loren. She has zero idea.
I'm just
That's
like,
true.
okay, Dustin, I've been doing this. This is my 25th year being an AD, and I'm a mentor for WASA. So in WI District 6, Central Eastern Washington, I'm the mentor because I'm the oldest codger on the the book. So hey, I'm gonna give the young guys some tips and ideas, and I say, hey, just write things down, reflect. And I tell that to even my young teachers. Take time to journal, whether it's your lesson plan book or things that happen to you, so that you can reflect on that and maybe improve for next time, right? Well, I didn't do that, and that's why in my rearview mirror, I'm telling people I probably could have written a couple books of all the things that you can't make up.
Right.
And in the athletic director world, we have, at least in Washington, what we call SOPs, standard operating procedures, right? This is how we're going to conduct the game. We're going to have batting practice an hour and a half before the game. You're going to take infield and outfield at half an hour before the game. We're going to do announcements 10 minutes before the game. Everything is lined up so that nobody has a question mark. This is how we do it. Well, somewhere along the line, it's because an AD said, we had an issue with this, and we need to write this down so that the next coach doesn't try to take advantage of that loophole. Well, one of the things that we had in the Big 9 was no live mascots. No live mascots. Nobody can bring one in. Now, you can have one that's dressed up like, I don't know, let's say an animal or whatever your mascot was. For years, we were the Chiefs. So we had a full-on costume, dressed up chief with a head. Well, at one point, maybe there might have been a kid who ended up accidentally grabbing a panther head, and it somehow got on the bus ride back to Moses Lake. And so there was a whole communication and a prisoner exchange to get that back.
So for our listeners, you're not the Panthers.
No, the Panther. I grew up in Wenatchee, but Wenatchee, the Panthers, right there. The Wenatchee Panthers had a costumed mascot. Elwood is what it was called, and this costume mascot. It was written in the SOPs that you could only be a costume mascot if you were part of the cheer squad. That way you had a coach over the top of you and you had an administrator over the top of you. You couldn't just be a student in the student section showing up and dressing up like something crazy, right? Because now we don't have as much control over that. Well, one of the schools in our league, the very top corner, you can see them up there, the Richland Bombers. You see their insignia. This is on their helmet. It's a mushroom cloud, right? So for those of you unfamiliar with the great United States of America, back in 1941, we got into a thing called World War II. And outside of Richland was Hanford. Hanford Nuclear Reservation is where we built the atomic bombs. Okay? Many of the engineers lived in Richland and drove out to Hanford. It's this reservation that's near the Columbia, but it's 15, 20 miles out of town. And it was this private little place where, we were building the atom bomb. And so since Richland became a town back in, probably the early 1920s or 30s, they were, as soon as they started playing sports, they were nicknamed the Richland Bombers. Well, Richland is about, I don't know, 80 miles from Moses Lake. But we were playing a big basketball game in Moses Lake. At that point, I can't remember if it was a boys or girls game because I know we were playing at opposite sites. So I probably had the boys game here, and they had a big student following because there was an implication of playoffs. And so in our gym, there's a designated section, and of course, your first line of defense, right?
Yeah,
You get it?
I see what you did there.
First line of defense is always your ticket takers. Hey, what's going on? Who's coming in? Are they carrying anything in? Little kids love to bring a basketball or a football and they want to play with it and they're goofing around. Well, all of a sudden I get this, hey, Loren, need you out in the front. Well, what's going on? Well, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a kid who just tried to sneak a bomb inside of his jacket. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Yeah, he's a Richland student section kid, and he's going to be over there. You can't miss him. So I make my way around the gym. We have 3 gyms, so I was probably in one of the other gyms when it happened, when the kid came in, and lo and behold, I go over to the student section, and this kid has a full-on, this sucker's, I don't think is being dropped out of a B-52, but it's a real bomb, right? Totally deactivated. There's nothing inside of it, so he can carry it, right? This thing isn't weighing 1,000 pounds or anything, but all the innards are taken out, but it's a real bomb. And it's painted, has a mushroom cloud on it, and he's like, hey, yeah, we bring this to everywhere we go. And I go, yeah, you're not bringing a bomb in my gym. You can't take it from me. Yes, I can. I'm not going to allow this in my gym, but you can't make that up, right? Who brings a bomb to a basketball game? Especially, and maybe it was a little bit easier back in the early 2000s, but can you imagine that in 2023? Kid bringing a bomb to a game and thinking it's okay.
Yeah.
There's so many questions, but how did you know that we can assume that it's not a live bomb, but I personally have no interaction with bombs. So I would not know by looking at a bomb, if it was safe or not safe. Those are, I would be I would be speechless, just like I am right now.
Well, you certainly couldn't carry it. They're pretty heavy, right, for one person to carry. But if all the stuff is taken out of the inside of it, I figured it wasn't active. But maybe I was just naive.
Yeah. There's a reason they drop them from planes, Danielle.
Okay, I understand all of this, but I am not going to, I don't know, I just wouldn't, I don't have any interaction with them, so it wouldn't have been something I felt very comfortable with. But okay, so now kid has that bomb. What do you do?
Well, so I said it's pretty simple. Either you're going to leave this venue or you're going to give me that. And if you and your parent want to show up after the game, I would love to give it back to you, because I'm going to be talking to Mr. Potter, the AD from Richland at the time. And I said, yeah, I don't want to see that ever again. Not in my venue or in another venue. Now, what you do at your own house, that's up to you, but you're not bringing
control that.
Right. You're not bringing it to mine.
No,
so that was
the question I have is, they call them bomber planes. Yeah. So, in Arkansas, there's a school called Mountain Home, and they're the Bombers, but their mascot is a plane. It's not a bomb.
This is worse. This is a bomb that already went off. It's the mushroom cloud. This is the worst case scenario here. This is not a good idea. And then a kid brings a bomb into the gym. I'm uncomfortable, and this isn't even in my gym, and it didn't happen already. It's already done, but I can't even. Did the parent come and retrieve the bomb?
I don't know if it was actually his parent or not, but he had an adult with him, and I said, please get this out of my ticket booth. I don't want to have it anymore. And I never saw it again. And I made a phone call to Mr. Potter the next day and let him know that, I can't remember the kid's name, but bottom line was, it was a fun little incident that happened that night. And I don't know how you prevent something like that from happening, because you can have rules posted, whether it's a bomb or anything else that might show up at one of your games. I mean, I don't think we're going to be walking through metal detectors at our games. Maybe we are. I don't know. Hopefully we're not.
Don't jinx everybody.
Yeah. Well, I know it's not a souvenir because it's not on your shrine back there with all the helmets and balls. And I mean, is that something you would have kept that just said, hey, I've confiscated this, and knowing it's not going to go off, and just say, hey, this is something that happened in my gym? I would have kept it myself.
I mean, the thing was 3.5, 4 feet long. It's big.
Okay, where? Oh my God.
This is Washington, because Cole had the chickens brought in, so there's some messed up stuff going on in the
nuclear plant like outfits. That's how they snuck the chickens in. But okay, so what did Mr. Potter say? Was he like, "Oh yeah, I know about that bomb," or was this news to him?
He was like, "Whoa, I've never seen that before." I'm like, "Really? Okay, well, just make sure they don't bring it back to Moses Lake again." So
I would have said, Mr. Potter, I'm going to drop a bomb on you, okay? Be prepared for this. I mean, there's a lot of ways I could have ran with that. Mm-hmm. I mean, were you as calm as you perceived to be in telling this story when you had the conversation with the kid?
Well, one of the things I learned a long time ago is the more you can be calm and patient, the better the reaction you're probably going to get.
Yeah.
The more you come across as fired up and
absolutely
animated,
territorial, whatever.
When you back a kid in a corner, they're going to fight.
Yep.
And so,
and he had a bomb. You didn't want to pick a fight with him.
Yeah, no doubt.
He thought that was an okay deal. I'm going to bring a bomb, and it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no smoke on that. If it's 3 or 4 foot long.
I mean, where did he even buy a bomb?
I don't know if he bought it from the Army surplus store.
The souvenir day.
Maybe you go down to Walmart and you can get them. I don't know.
Maybe in Richfield you do. I don't know.
I don't know. When Loren and I were talking and he told me about this, I was like, a bomb, like a bomb, like I don't know. Just the fact that somebody thinks this is okay to bring to a school, I can't wrap my brain around that. I mean,
we had bomb threats before.
Yeah.
And evacuate places, and so I mean, just the intestinal fortitude to carry one into a game, and then to say you're not taking this from me. This
was one of my first few years here. So we're talking early 2000s. I know we didn't have any cameras in the gym. There might have been maybe a game film, but I don't know if you even saw the game film of me, because it would have been before the tip-off, right? This was maybe the JV game was still going on, and the kid walked in with it. And hey, mind you, let me give you a picture. These guys are green and gold. We just played them in the state softball tournament, and they kind of took it to us. But anyway, during basketball season, just like the Indiana Hoosier fans, they all have these striped bib overalls, like the red and white ones from Indiana. Okay, right. So they're green and gold. And all these kids in the student section are wearing these. And I don't know if he snuck them in that or had this big overcoat on, how he got by my ticket takers, but somebody noticed it, called me. We probably didn't even have cell phones at the time. I don't even know. Shoot, I'm that old. Somebody just said, hey, you need to go check out this kid. He's in the student section. But anyway, I've got another story. Let's get over the bomb thing.
I can't get over the bomb. We're not done.
I want to ask one question before we jump into that. What was the conversation like when they said they brought a bomb in? What was your reaction to that conversation? Because I can figure out what mine was, but I want to know what yours was when be unfiltered, be unedited. Just tell us what the raw emotion was when it first happened.
Well, I don't remember if it was my ticket taker. I just said, "You have to be kidding me! Like, you serious? How did they get it in here? Did they wheel it in? Like, I had this envision that it was, a big heavy bomb. Like, they had to have some sort of cart to wheel it in. No, they had 2 or 3 kids that just carried in this shell, and I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!" Right? So on my desk, I've got just a little memento, and this is not even what it looked like. It looked like more like a torpedo, but maybe I'll show you this other side of it. But this is when I really get frustrated.
Right.
I got this little bomb on my deal. It reminds me of that story, though.
I just want to point out though that you said you had to say to somebody, "You're not bringing a bomb into my gym." That is a sentence you had to say that I guarantee you nobody prepared you for as an AD. No. You never were like,
nobody has that in the manual.
Yeah, there's not an LTC class on that.
No, not an LTC. I mean, you could listen to Jay Hammis, and he would give you all sorts of stuff that you could do to make sure that doesn't happen, and somehow it did.
So has that made it into your standard operating procedures that you will not bring a bomb to other places?
That's not written down.
We can announce it right now. Moses Lake does not allow bombs in their gym. Don't even try to bring them. It's official.
If you write stuff, they will probably try to do it just because.
Right. Just to say,
they'll look for a loophole, right? That was the loophole in the SOPs was you didn't say I couldn't bring, something that looked like our mascot.
It wasn't live, so
not a live mascot. I'm not wearing it as a costume. It was a prop.
And you've got a prop on your desk, and those who are listening can't see what was on said bomb, but you have a bomb with the letter F on it.
Yeah.
Which is priceless. I mean, I give kudos to that. We ought to market that. I think that'd be awesome.
Oh.
So, okay, let's jump to your other story. I don't know if I can get past this one, but
okay,
you've got another story. Let's hear that one.
Sometimes you just can't make it up. And when Danielle sent me the email and said, "Hey, we're going to talk about this and want to know kind of what's on your resume, but maybe what's off your resume," and so I just happened that I had shared my resume with our District 6 director because I was getting an award, and he wanted to know how many years I spent on the WI executive board. And so you didn't even list that as one of my deals because I'm not on it anymore. But sitting on the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association, you hear all sorts of stuff. Well, I started looking through my experience and some of the things I had on my resume, and one of the things that's on there is you oversee athletic and facility improvements, right? So when you're at a place for quite an extended time, like myself, we've put in all sorts of athletic venues. We went from, when I first got here, they only had one gym. As I moved in that year, they had built 2 more gyms. Well, there were other things that were on my plate, like, hey, we have 3 baseball fields on campus and 0 softball fields. We play at a city park, but the girls can practice out back on the football fields, just on the grass if they need to practice on campus. Well, I had a Title IX complaint. One of those Title IX complaints said, "I can't believe you don't have softball fields, and you need to do something about it." So they didn't tell us what to do. Well, I looked at the blueprint, and we had 3 baseball fields, and we could easily convert one of those into a softball field and have enough space to add a second softball field. So we would go from 3 baseball and 0 softball to 2 baseball and 2 softball. Well, when you do that, when you skin an infield, so you take off that grass, you drop down a good 3-4 inches. Well, we were trying to do things and make it happen quickly so that the state wouldn't get mad at us for, not having softball fields. So we played for probably 8-10 years on a really nice infield, but it was much lower than the baseball field originally was. So it created a little bit of an issue when we did get rain. And over time, you have to redo the fields, right? So I'm setting this whole big story up. I live in Moses Lake. We only get 12 inches of rain a year, right? It just never rains. Our dugouts are sunken down. So you never really get water sitting down in those dugouts. Well, we decided it was time to regrade one of the baseball fields, the one we were playing JV field for baseball, and what we were playing varsity softball on. Said, hey, they're getting out of shape. The grass is terrible on that softball field. So we went ahead and skinned the baseball infield, and we had this guy come in. He's legit. He is. If you looked him up on the internet, he does all sorts of golf courses and professional venues. He did the infield for, at the time, Safeco Field, but now T-Mobile Park. He redid the infield for baseball and he did the outfield for softball. Just a glorious job. It was laser graded. He had all the high-tech equipment. So he had a couple final details to still do, and so he still had a few pieces of equipment here on campus. And mind you, we're an Eastern Washington agricultural-based farm community, right? We have tons of farmland around here. The leading producer of potatoes in the nation is Grant County, Washington, where we live. Not Idaho. Don't kid yourself. Corn, wheat, alfalfa. We have many kids who grow up on farms and they know how to run machinery, and that is just in their DNA from the time they're little, right? They move equipment, or they're out on the fields doing that sort of work. Okay, so our contractor still had a couple details to do, and so he still had a John Deere tractor sitting on campus. Well, we had a deluge. We're talking, a pretty good Eastern Washington thunderstorm where fronts changed and all of a sudden it came in, and probably 2 of our 12 inches of rain a year came down in about 10 minutes. So we had quite a bit of standing water. It doesn't drain real fast. So one of our students who happened to know that, and maybe I'll call this story, the case of the John Deere tractor keys are interchangeable. So even though the contractor may have pulled the key and said, well, the key's not in it, see, some of these farm kids are wise enough that they know that the key from the FFA John Deere tractors would work on his tractor as well. And it was like, we're talking a 16-year-old, the first time it snows, and he sees a parking lot that's totally empty, and he is going to do,
donuts
and donuts, because here is this attractive nuisance, this John Deere tractor that can get up and hump about 40 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour maybe, on this nice, new, pristine sod. He is whipping around, doing Brodies, and we had it on camera because, now there's cameras everywhere on campus, and I'm telling you what, it was like Dale Earnhardt winning Talladega. You know what I'm saying? He is. Well, needless to say, there was a little bit of damage done to that brand new, impeccable softball field. All that brand new, fresh sod was just torn up. It was, you can't make it up. He had a heyday. And I would just tell you this. When you have a parent coming in, you're trying to explain what kind of damage and what kind of money was just invested in that field, and what kind of reimbursement might have to take place because the school district just lost, $20-some thousand worth of sod. That's a tough conversation to have with a parent.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there, and I said, "And how did you turn the tractor on?" He says, "Well, I can just use any John Deere tractor key. Like, it works. It doesn't matter if it came from this tractor and I put it in this tractor, it's going to turn it on." I'm like, nobody ever taught me that. Nobody ever told me that. So, needless to say, this young lad, I mean, this is a small community. I doubt anybody's watching this from Moses Lake, but they probably know who Johnny is, right? And how you treat people when you come across a tough situation there's a lifelong lesson, right?
Yeah.
Because he had to figure out how he was going to pay this back, because he's 16 years old and doesn't have a real job, and yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
That tells
How
me
did
it
the-
wasn't his first time to use that tractor key in another tractor for him to know that worked.
He knew that worked, yeah. And we probably have a few kids around campus who might know that trick.
And now you know it.
So is a parent supportive?
Absolutely.
Okay. That could have made the story a lot worse.
You're going to make it right. Now, whether he's still paying back the district, I don't know, because I'd tell you this is how we draw from about 50,000 people, but it's a big, huge area, right? Our lake is pretty expansive, and some kids are on a school bus for 50 minutes, 50 or 60 minutes just to get to school, because they got to go around the lake to get here, and there's a lot of farmland. And so we draw from about 50,000 people, but really the town of Moses Lake itself, the city limits, is only about 25,000. And so we have 12 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, and now a second high school, but it's an academy that their kids still play sports for us. This is how small it is. My wife taught the kid when he was in first grade. His dad framed our house when we built the house.
Oh, no.
And we're not talking like, next best friends or anything like that, but they just happen to live down the street from us.
Ugh.
This is how small this is. So when this kid's in my office and his mom's in the office, there's some embarrassment going on too, right? Because it's not only you have to tell me something that Johnny did, it's we know you. My husband built your house.
I don't know what would be going through the kids.
Your wife taught him in first grade, and now he works for the school district, and I see him on a daily basis, and he still calls me Mr. Sandhop.
I don't know.
I don't know if he's getting paid or whether he's still paying back the district. Maybe that's why he's working. But I would just tell you this: nobody at AD school teaches you that a John Deere key is interchangeable,
or that a kid is going to think it is a good idea to jump on it and like destroy school property. Like the fact that crossed like someone's mind is weird to me. That's like, this is a good idea. Because you have to know you're going to ruin it. You have to know.
Anybody that's grown up in an area where there's snow and drought has probably done a Brody or two in the snow.
Yeah,
that's what he was doing. He was doing a Brody. What?
Or parking lots. I mean, you can peel out in a parking lot. 16-year-old boys will burn out in a parking lot and think it's okay.
You're driving a truck and there's no weight in the back end, and you just goose it a little bit as you come around the corner. That's what he was doing on the John Deere.
This is also why all of our streakers on this have been male. Just want to put that connection together.
So that's not on my resume, that I'm a John Deere tractor police, but that was one day that we had to deal with a weird situation.
Whew.
Yeah, and I mean, I just think about the amount of money the district put into that, and you knew that the field had just been done. It was pristine. It was in, you said, impeccable condition. And
Yep.
it wasn't after John Deere Green got a hold of the green.
Yeah, it was bad. Oh, one of those days you just.
I can feel your pain on the softball field. I had a situation once where I got a call over the radio. The radio is the worst, right? That's where all you get all your bad news from. And they're like, LaPointe, can you go out to the softball field? And I'm like, yeah, in a minute. They're like, no, you need to come out to the softball field now. And I'm like, okay. It's during the day, school day. So I go out to the softball custodian. I go out. Edwin was amazing custodian. And I walk out there and I'm like, Edwin, what's going on? He's like, go look at your field. I'm like, okay. Like, I'm only like a year into this, right? Like I am new. I'm fresh and new and optimistic. And I walk out in the softball field and there is a huge sinkhole right where the pitching mound should be. Like the whole infield is essentially gone in the sinkhole. And I'm just standing there and I'm looking at it and he's like, what are you gonna do? And I was like, I have no idea. Like, I don't know what to do. Like,
Get back. It's getting bigger.
I just was like, what? Why'd you call me?
So a whole new word for in the circle, or
yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming it was more of a circle.
But I have a feeling that you looked at your softball field very similar to how I looked at my softball field. I just sat there and was like, oh, okay. Cancel the game tonight.
Well, not only in that situation, but you got to have a conversation with said kid and parent that you know, and you said not next best friends, but somebody that you're familiar with, and you got to have what we call a difficult or a hard conversation to just say, hey, you can't deny this. We've got it on video, but your kid just destroyed our softball field.
Yeah.
But I'm just so happy that parent was supportive, because you know how many times we have heard stories where the parent is irate and just angry and not supportive and wants to defend their kid. So, I mean, I feel like the situation could have been a lot worse if the parent went that route.
Yeah, those are, we've all been there before when they don't want to take ownership. But
Right.
in this situation, 100% she did, and she wanted to support how he was going to make it right. And he was fully going to pay for this to make it, so the girls were not going to have a field that was unplayable.
Well, and was this when was the softball season? Was it during season, or was this the summertime, or?
So this was before we started slow pitch softball in the fall. We were just playing fast pitch in the spring. And so it was a fall. We had just redone it in the fall. So I don't know, maybe it was late September, early October. And
did you have to resod it all?
Did we have to what?
Resod all of it?
Oh, the whole thing, yeah.
Oh.
The whole outfield was just decimated. I mean, we're lucky he didn't lose the fence. He was skidding around. But anyway, it's kind of, in hindsight, a funny situation seeing a kid just ripping around, thinking that was okay. Almost like I said, Dale Earnhardt just spinning Brodies after winning Talladega or something. You know about Talladega, don't you, Danielle?
Yes, he just likes to make fun of me for things, and I do know all of these things.
She is not cultured at all.
That
she
is
didn't
not
know who
true.
Charlie Pride was, Loren. She didn't know who Charlie Pride was.
I wasn't alive.
Wow.
I wasn't alive.
So, again, we've had this argument, Loren, and maybe you mentioned when we were in the war in 1941.
Oh my God.
She wasn't alive then, but that doesn't
I know about that. Okay, all right. I know about Charlie Pride now too. So, man, I'm so glad that you came on and I got the opportunity to meet you. You put on a great conference. I had a great time at it, and I'm glad you came on to share these stories, because because now the country can know, do not leave tractors out where kids can get them because they can take any key apparently.
Well, it
It's
don't
a
matter.
whole
You
new
don't have to
meaning
leave
to
them out.
Well, the tractor. I'm talking about the tractor.
Yeah, you don't have to leave it out. The key works. It don't matter if it's out or not.
No, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. You have to put the tractor away. Can't leave the tractor out because any key
But the
works.
key will still work. If they can get to the tractor, the key will still work.
Yes. You got to put the tractor away.
So what we found out, Loren has taught us today that a John Deere key will work in any tractor, and a bomb with an F on it is a necessity for any athletic director across the country.
I like
Sometimes
it.
you need to throw it at the phone. Yeah.
It's got to be an
Today's
SOP
takeaway.
at some point. You got to have it as your standard operating procedure as an AD.
Yep.
I think that's awesome. That may be the best thing I've seen since we've done this podcast.
F bomb sitting on your desk.
And
Oh,
you
Coming
just
from
throw it
the
at your
man
phone.
who
He
won't.
said it.
I was
Just
saying,
throw it
coming
at
from
your
the man.
phone.
Coming from the man who will not swear at all. Oh man,
been in the
no.
locker room at all.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, to chat with us today and to share your stories. I very much enjoyed them.
Yeah, Loren, I appreciate you letting me have my moment to begin with, and I'm glad we cleared that out of the way to prepare the runway for you to land two really big planes and two different stories that I think have been entertaining. They've been enlightening, but they've also been practical, or we can take takeaways, and that's the point of what we do. We have a conversation to equip you to say, hey, at some point, there's going to be something that happens you're not prepared for. And I think you hit it on the head. Sometimes the tone in which you have a conversation will dictate how that conversation is going to go. And so when you had a kid that had a bomb, you just approached it calmly and said, that's not going to be in our gym. And then with the parent, you have to say, well, your child went Dale Earnhardt on our softball field. And now it's come full circle because the kid's now working for the district, which I think is, it just blows my mind. And I think the best line that you said, I don't know if he's being paid by the district or he's paying back the district still.
That's
That's
true
funny.
story.
That's awesome. That is awesome. But Loren, I appreciate you jumping on here and taking a chance on us. And I know this is going to be now a podcast that you're going to listen to. At least I'm taking your word on it. That's what you said. You're going to jump in and listen to these.
I got to go back and listen to a couple of these. And
listen to Cole Canyers for sure, because you'll get a kick out of what Cole had to deal with.
Sure.
I don't think he mentioned Walla Walla. But I like the phrase that they like the town so much they named it twice.
Yeah. No, we've had some great ones that coming out of Washington. Washington is one of our top states to compete with. We had Russ Farman and Cole Kaner and the spatting on the shoes and the chickens and now bombs. I mean, Washington, they dropped some stories. They dropped some stories out of Washington.
Either that or we can fabricate a pretty good one. I don't know. Oh.
Yeah. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me, you guys. I appreciate it. It's fun.
That wraps up this episode. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our sponsor, Wall of Fame, who excels at telling your school stories and supports us in telling ours. Check out the description of this episode for a link to receive a discount on all Wall of Fame products. We are looking forward to the next story and hope you are too.